Greetings, dear viewer. If you haven't done so before, please think about subscribing to our Prague channel. The question I want to ask today is, can a bunch of geriatric ex-terrorists manage South Africa's response to the coronavirus outbreak? Now, that might be a rhetorical question, but let's look at a few of the facts. First of all, in a couple of days' time, I'm traveling, so I've been trying to obtain hand sanitizer, some liquid, some liquids to sanitize surfaces and so on the plane if need be. And all of that is sold out. You can't get a mask, you can't get hand sanitizers, you can get nothing right here in South Africa. Now, until now, South Africa has not been in the forefront of the propagation of this virus, but we all know that it's going to happen sooner or later, and the country seems to be entirely unprepared for what's coming. At the moment, there are 122 people who have been in the Wuhan province in China. They've just arrived in South Africa, and they are now going to be quarantined in a hotel in the north of the country near the town of Petersburg. Now, Petersburg has since had a name change. It's Polo something. Now, I know the word Polo in Italian means chicken, so I suppose you could call it Chickenville. But the government and two departments, the Department of Defense and the Health Department, are due to be managing this operation of looking after 122 people in a hotel. Now, one might wonder why they should be in a hotel and not in a hospital or near hospitals, until you realize, of course, that our hospitals have been run into the ground over the last 25 years since the ANC regime took over in our country. We did the first heart transplant in the state hospital down in Cape Town. Now, a state hospital can hardly even treat a common cold or flu, let alone the coronavirus. There are rumors that there are some patients being treated in private hospitals for the coronavirus, but none of this has made it into the media as yet. There are just a few cases that are being mentioned in the mainstream media, but no doubt there are many more in South Africa at the moment, to go by all the information that one can glean informally from other sources. Now, the Department of Health in South Africa, apart from the fact that they've actually managed to let our hospitals go completely derelict in many cases, they're also famous for their first response to the HIV virus. That was in the late 90s when a person called Monto Chabalalo Msimang became Minister of Health for about 10 years under the Mbeki government or regime, Mbeki regime. And at first they denied that the virus existed, the HIV virus. But they also claimed that it could be treated by means of ingesting the African potato, garlic, and beetroot. And that was the official government position for a number of years, that you just had to eat one of these three foods in order to recover from the AIDS virus, or from HIV, which causes AIDS. Now, At the moment, our wonderful government is not claiming that you can cure yourself from corona by eating some garlic and beetroot and the African potato. But they haven't put together any form of a real emergency response when it comes to this virus. And the public is simply left in the dark. We are supposed to fend for ourselves without being able to procure even the most basic things in the shops and at various pharmacies where they are sold out. And it's going to be only a matter of time before this virus becomes a real problem in the country, like it has in other countries like China and Italy and Spain, where it has also spread very quickly. Regarding the South African Defence Force, or the South African National Defence Force as it is known, now they are also part of this whole operation up in the Pollowville, Chickenville, or Petersburg as it used to be called. Now, there's nothing national about the South African National Defence Force, and it's hardly even a defence force, because all the personnel that used to know what they were doing were fired over the course of the last 2 decades or so, and they've been replaced by aged, overweight ex-terrorists from the ANC's terrorist movement called Umkhonto we Sizwe. Now you may wonder what Umkhonto we Sizwe means. It's a phrase that means spear of the nation. Now, when you're talking about spears in South Africa, there are certain things that come to mind. For example, every year they have some initiation ceremonies down in the Eastern Cape where they perform operations on young men's private parts by means of rusted spears, or assegais as we call them. And this has been a continuing scandal. And I know of at least one man down in the Cape who calls me every year to complain about this and saying that the government doesn't do anything about it, which is true. And hundreds of people die from these so-called operations on their private parts. It's supposed to be some sort of traditional circumcision ceremony. And a lot of those people then with mutilated parts. But if you know something about French psychoanalysis, there was a man called Jacques Lacan who coined a new term which he called the primal signifier. Now these young boys of about 17, 18 and so on, their primal signifiers are operated on with these rusted spears, and within their culture then they become men. It's a sign of manhood to have a mutilated primal signifier. And a lot of them, of course, eventually end up in government. And especially immediately after the ANC took over, the vast majority of our so-called cabinet consisted of these people with mutilated primal signifiers. It also reminds me of a pervert like Harvey Weinstein. He probably has been mutilated in a similar fashion. And there's something, when you enter, I won't go into this more or less Freudian territory too much, but there's something about the thinking of people with mutilated private parts that lends itself to perversion and extremism. And if you look at somebody like, some of the movies that Harvey Weinberg has produced, you wonder about the man's sanity and his mental state. Django Unchained. Oh, horrible. It says something about the kind of hatred and disturbed nature of his mind. But here in South Africa, we've got some of these geriatric ex-terrorists, also many of whom also have mutilated primal signifiers, and they are going to look after these poor sods from returning from China, South Africans who were expats in China. And I wonder how all of this is going to turn out. And once the real need for an organized response arises in South Africa, how on earth are our departments of health and the Defence Force in this instance going to be able to deal with it, given that they have over the years fired most of the trained personnel, and we are stuck now with people who have been stealing medicine from the hospitals. I mean, that's a major industry in South Africa, stealing medication and equipment from state hospitals. And in these very state hospitals, people are going to have to be treated or not treated for the coronavirus. So it's an unfortunate situation, and we're going to see it unfold over the next days and weeks. And I'm certainly going to be back reporting on this and commenting on this. And once again, please subscribe to this channel. At the end of this video, there will be a blue logo on the right of the screen. Just click on it and subscribe to our Prague channel. Until next time, thanks for watching and goodbye.